and welcome to another JavaEE tutorial. Before we get started, I want you to check the description of this video and click the link so that you can get to this page. You're going to need a few things. You're going to need a basic understanding of the Java programming language. You're going to need to know a little bit about how to use XML, and you must have Maven installed on your computer. Now, in the link, I include instructions on installing Maven on both two common Linux distros, as well as Windows and Mac OS X. If you have trouble with that, don't forget to ask IT for some real expert advice.
Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Open your IDE of choice. I'm using Netbeans right now. If you'd like to download Netbeans to follow along with this tutorial, you're welcome to do so, but this should work on anything. I've done this with Eclipse, IntelliJ, doesn't really matter. Alright, create a new project. You'll notice in the link in the description, I actually tell you what type of project to create. We're going to create one from what's called a Maven Archetype. For those of you unfamiliar with Maven, Maven is a build system that includes automatic dependency resolution. This means that instead of downloading a bunch of jar files and trying to fit them into the lib folder of your project and make sure that they get included when you build and run, Maven will actually fetch all of those files for you and automatically include all the ones you need. It's a really handy thing. So, project from archetype. What's a Maven archetype? An archetype is kind of like a project template. It comes with some files, some code already in there, and it's a great way to just get started on something. In this case, we're going to use a great JavaEE archetype created by a guy named Adam Bean, who's a JavaEE expert. So I'm going to search for it in here, com.airhacks, and I'm going to choose the JavaEE 8 Essentials archetype. You'll notice the group ID here and the artifact ID here. You may have to actually type these into your IDE manually. I noticed I had to do that with IntelliJ, but Eclipse seemed to find it just fine with the default catalog settings. Alright, now that we've gotten to this screen, it's asking for a project name. I'm going to call this tutorial project. And you'll notice when I change the name of the project, it changes the name of the artifact ID to match. So what is the artifact ID? The artifact ID is basically the short name of a project that's a Maven project. The fully qualified name starts with a group ID, which is usually written into reverse domain notation. In this case, I'm going to give you some examples. If I was Google, I would probably use com.google as my group ID. And if I was a member of the Gmail team, I would probably use something like com.google.gmail or something like this, just to clarify what organization I'm a part of and avoid having name collisions with someone else's project. In this case, I'm going to use a domain that I own, which is eisig.es. So I'm going to put es.eisig for my group ID. Come down to the version, and you'll notice this keyword here, snapshot. Snapshot is something that you put in your version to tell Maven that this is a work in progress. It's used to indicate that it's not a releasable or release quality version of a project. It may not build properly, it may not run properly, it may have broken tests. Whatever is wrong with the project, or it may just need a lot more work. It's in beta. It's not ready for a release, so we tell Maven that it's not ready for a release by including -snapshot at the end of the name. Alright, I'm going to hit finish, and it's going to create my project. Okay, excellent. I'm going to go into the files view so you can see what's actually inside of this already. Here are a bunch of files. These files actually come in this project without me having to add them because I've used this Maven archetype. You'll notice there's a Docker file, a README, a shell script, a POM XML file, and a source folder. You're probably more used to seeing the source folder from other Java projects, and it actually comes with a few classes already. But we'll get into that in a minute. For now, open the pom.xml file. You'll notice that the group ID that we selected in the new project dialog shows up here, and the Artefact ID, which is also the name of the project, shows up here, as well as the version. I'm going to create a little bit of extra space just so it's easier for you to see what's going on. You'll notice there are several different areas inside of this project file. There's this group ID, Artefact ID, version. There's packaging, which is indicating that this will be packaged as a WAR file. Most Java projects are packaged as a jar file, but in this case we're going to package it as a WAR file because it's a web archive instead of a Java archive. We'll get into why in a minute. Here are your dependencies. These are all of the things that your projects need to function. In this case, we're using the JavaEE API version 8, so we need to tell Maven, hey, I'm going to be using this in my project. Please add this for me. Alright, now, please revisit the link in the description to get some things that you're going to need to copy-paste into your pom.xml file. The first snippet is going to be inserted into project, which is this scope. You can see me expand and contract it like this. Project properties, which is this scope right here. Properties is a special scope in the Maven pom.xml file, which is used to store variables. Some of them are user created, some of them are things that are known to Maven. So in this case, I'm going to add something called version.wildfly.swarm, and I'm going to set it at 2018.3.3. You can name this anything you like, provided you make sure that this part matches what we're about to add in the other snippets. Alright, into the top level scope, which is project, I want you to copy and paste this snippet. This is kind of a cool thing that Maven can do. This is actually a plugin that will automatically add dependencies to your project that you haven't declared. We'll get into why we need that in a few tutorials, but for now, just know that you do need it and it's important for this to be able to run. Alright, one last one. And this one's going to go into project build right here. So I'm going to create some space, paste this in. You'll notice that both of the snippets that we pasted in include this version.wildfly.swarm variable. That's so we can keep them synchronized by updating this if we need to change the version. Alright, that's all for now. You've actually created a basic JavaEE project. Check back in next time to see how to run it. Take care.